Hey guys, this is hopefully just going to be a really quick video that I may not even keep up that long. And sorry the quality is so bad. This is on my laptop upstairs, laptop, what do you call that, microphone and everything. So really bad quality, which is one reason I may delete it later. Anyway, I had a tweet. Someone asked me, I had it, let me pull it up here. Actually, that's not it. I had it pulled up here. I am linking it down below in case anybody wants to see it. But someone asked me, we were talking about sin because academic agent was talking about it and I got into a discussion on it and somebody was asking me about it. I said, I believe in the definitions given in the Bible for sin. And he says, or she person says, that's fair enough, but to my knowledge, there is no evidence for any religion proving it to be true. I guess my question is, why are you sure Christianity is the quote true unquote religion, and what is the conclusive proof? Because surely without that, the morality is as good as subjective. The reason for that is we were discussing morality, and I said that I do believe that there is an objective truth, objective right and wrong. And he's like, well, how can it not be subjective? And I said, well, if Christianity is true, then it is objectively true. If it's not true, then obviously it's not, but I believe it is true. Anyway, to get into it a little bit, excuse me, I responded to him. He says, so what's the evidence for Christianity? And he said, to my knowledge, there is no evidence. And he said, so how can you be sure it's true? And my response was, there is evidence, but people dismiss it. And here I'm literally reading my tweet here, which I could probably show if I'm sorry, it's been a long day, a long week. I'm actually supposed to be doing the dishes, but I'm just responding to this first. This is not going to be a well thought out video. Anyway, it's well thought out. It's just not going to be well put together. So my response to him, he's saying, hey, I thought there wasn't any evidence for religion. And I said, oh yeah, there is evidence, but people dismiss it. And reading what I wrote, in the same way that flat earthers dismiss any evidence that goes against what they believe, so I've found that atheists will just dismiss any evidence that I bring, saying, I don't believe that happened, no matter who witnessed it. And I, as expected, oh, hi, Alan. I see somebody. Anyway, sorry, chat gets me distracted. If I get distracted, I lose my train of thought, and it's just, and oh man, sorry, but I can see my camera and it shows me a reverse, so I gotta push the hair out of, anyway, sorry, don't get me distracted, chat. What was I saying? Oh, yes, I said that when I argue with atheists, and this has just been the case every single time, almost every single time, not every single time, but like 99% of the time, they just dismiss any evidence that I give them. Evidence that they would accept for any other claim. They refuse to accept it when it comes to Christianity or anything religious, really. And the only reason I can give is they've just already chosen to believe, no, this is not true, and they just won't accept any evidence given. And it took, like, I don't know, maybe 2 minutes or less before someone responded to it saying, yeah, oh, come on, show it. Sorry. Saying, oh, I don't think that's true. Let's test it. You give me some evidence, and we'll discuss whether it is evidence or not. I'm like, yeah, I already knew where it was going to go. I know where this is going to go. Anyway, simplest piece of evidence to show the example of why people just refuse to believe any evidence given to them if it doesn't fit their narrative. This is a history book that was written, this is a history book that was originally written in the 1st century. Now, how do historians actually write history? Are they just people who are bloggers who go in and just are, whatever, not bloggers, but you know what I'm saying. Are they people who write down their own experiences and say, here's what happened? No, that's not a historian. Not usually. Yes, some historians, yes, but vast majority of historians, they weren't actually there watching what happened. Historians who chronicle the life of Napoleon were not actually there walking alongside of Napoleon. It is very rare to find that. Yes, you're going to have firsthand accounts from people who were actually there, people who actually saw it or whatever. Historians are the people who go out and interview people, who talk to people, who read firsthand accounts, who research it and find what they believe is true. They assemble it into He was writing the histories of the Jews. He was writing lots of stuff. He lived in the 1st century, and he compiled this this very big book. Okay, I don't know how well you can see it, but he compiled this big book of historical accounts, just going back to 6,000 years, or well, I guess 4,000 years before he wrote it. He talks about the happenings in the Old Testament, and by the way, he has different accounts of some of it. His account of the young life of Moses it's actually pretty funny. You should read it sometime. Anyway, so if you read his The Antiquities of the Jews books, anybody who has Josephus or wants to find it, if you want to look it up, this is in book 18 of The Antiquities of the Jews, chapter 3, starting in verse 3. And he says, "Now there was about this time Jesus, a wise man, if it be lawful to call him a man, for he was a doer of wonderful works." Should have said from the start. Obviously, I'm reading a translation. He didn't write it in English. Some people will dismiss it just because of that, but moving on. Okay. Yeah. "For he was a doer of wonderful works, a teacher of such men as received the truth with pleasure. He drew over to him both many of the Jews and many of the Gentiles. He was the Christ." There's a footnote there. Excuse me. "And when Pilate, at the suggestion of the principal men amongst us, had condemned him to the cross, those who loved him at the first did not forsake him, for he appeared to them alive again the third day, as the divine prophets had foretold these and 10,000 other wonderful things concerning him. As the divine prophets had foretold these and 10,000 other wonderful things concerning him. And the tribe of Christians, so named from him, are not extinct to this day." That is an historical account saying there is a man named Jesus who walked the earth, who performed miracles, who had many people following him, who was put to death by the Romans, by Pontius Pilate, at the bequest of the Jews, and who rose again and formed a sect called the Christians, who were still alive at the time of Josephus. That would be an acceptable historical account for literally anything else. This guy was alive when people who witnessed the events were also alive. He likely had firsthand accounts from people who actually witnessed these things that happened. He could read the writings of people who were still alive at the time when he was writing. Okay? That would be an acceptable historical account from anyone of anything else. And yet atheists will say, "Oh, no, we can't accept that because Josephus himself didn't actually witness it." And I say he may have talked to people who witnessed it. "Oh, but we can't accept the authority of anyone who witnessed it if they believe it happened." Because here's the thing. If there was a man called Jesus and he performed literal miracles and there were prophecies about his life and about his death that said he's going to die on the cross, and the descriptions from the prophets of his death described a manner of execution that did not exist at the time they were writing. And he did die by this method that was described thousands of years earlier. And then again, according to the prophecies, as they prophesied, and as he stated, he said, "You can kill me and I will rise again in 3 days." He said that. And he dies in the way that they said he would, the prophet said he would die, and then he came back to life. If this actually happened, the people who actually witnessed it and interacted with Jesus after he came back to life, they're not going to just walk away and say, "Yeah, well, I still don't believe he's telling the truth." What? Obviously, they're going to believe it. Every witness, everyone who actually saw this, most likely, I would say at least 99% of them were converted and became Christians. And yet atheists are going to say nobody who actually believes in him is a credible witness because they have an agenda to push. So they will only accept the witness of someone who doesn't believe it's happened. It's just nonsense. It's ridiculous. This is why I say that. When people say, "Oh, there's no evidence," I'm like, there is evidence. You just won't accept the evidence. And people say, "Oh, yeah, well, we won't accept that evidence." I know. That's what I'm saying. You would accept this evidence if it was talking about anything else. But you will not accept it because you don't like what it's talking about. There are historical accounts. There are writings, but they say, it's interesting if you say, okay, the four Gospels, some of those were written by, some of the accounts there were written by eyewitnesses and others by people who talked to eyewitnesses, and they're like, "Oh, we can't accept that because they're actually pushing what Jesus taught." We can't accept anything written about Jesus that was written by someone who believes what Jesus taught. So no, when you say, yeah, going back to this, you're saying, oh, I thought there was no evidence. Like, there's plenty of evidence. It's just people don't want to accept the evidence. Anyway, okay, that's officially the end of the stream because, again, this wasn't well thought out. This wasn't planned, and I don't know if your quality is as bad as what it's showing me, but what I'm seeing is pretty bad, and I'm hearing an echo of myself just because I'm sitting upstairs and I'm not sitting in where I usually do the streaming. So, and I don't know how good this mic is, so I imagine it's terrible. So officially, that's the end of the stream. If there is anybody in chat, I know I just kind of just posted this and went live immediately, so it's hasn't been going long. If there's anybody in the chat that has any questions, I can answer them now. Otherwise, yeah. And if you don't want to hear answers to questions, then just done anyway. But yeah, it looks like Alan's the only one. Alan, I can't remember if you and I have debated or anything. Your name is familiar, but I don't know from where because I'm terrible with names. Oh, I'm Catholic. I hope we don't end up fighting. Well, no, I think that we agree on this at least. Although I've met some Catholics. I don't know. You get people from all different denominations, so they just believe weird things. Anyway, okay. I don't think there's anybody watching this live, so hopefully this actually posts. I'm not reading that, Alan. I'm not reading. They're not the only ones. Okay. That's mean. I'm not that it's not true. Well, okay, I won't. Never mind. Moving on. But okay. I hope you guys have a great evening, night, morning, whenever you guys watch this. I need to go finish the dishes and get back to work, which I don't want to do. But y'all have a great weekend and talk to you guys later. If I can find there we go.